My wife's hand started shaking 6 months ago. At first, it was just a slight tremor when she held her coffee cup. By last Thursday, she could barely sign her own name. So I drove her 40 minutes to see a physical therapist in Savannah, and a specialist my son had recommended. When my son stepped outside to move the car, the therapist shut the door, locked it, and turned to me with a face I'll never forget. "Mr. Mitchell," she said, barely above a whisper, "your wife is not sick. Someone is doing this to her, and I think it's your son." Before I could process a single word, my son walked back in, car keys jingling, smiling that easy smile he'd perfected over the past year. I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit subscribe. And tell me in the comments where you're joining me from and what time it is there right now. That therapist's warning cracked my world wide open. But let me take you back to where this nightmare began. I'm Harold Mitchell, 68 years old, retired math teacher, 34 years at Roosevelt High in Savannah, Georgia. My wife, Eleanor, is 64. She was a registered nurse for 3 decades at Memorial Health. The woman who could start an IV blindfolded, who could calm a screaming child with one look, who ran our household like a well-oiled machine. We built a good life, nothing extravagant. A 4-bedroom colonial on Abercorn Street with a wraparound porch. Paid off 15 years ago. Savings. Investments Eleanor managed because she was better with numbers than I ever was. Despite me being the math teacher. Retirement was supposed to be our reward. We'd earned it. Our son, Ryan, is 36. Sharp kid. Always was. Got his real estate license at 23. Built a portfolio by 30. For a while there, he was the golden boy of Chatham County real estate. Drove a black Lexus. Wore tailored suits. Took clients to dinner at places Eleanor and I couldn't pronounce. Our daughter, Megan, is 33. She moved to Portland 8 years ago. Works in nonprofit fundraising. Quiet. Steady. Calls every Sunday. Sends flowers on birthdays. She's not flashy like Ryan, but she's reliable. Or she was, until she stopped calling as much. I blamed her busy schedule. Turns out Ryan had been telling her we were fine, that he had everything under control, that she didn't need to worry about flying home so often. The tremors started in Eleanor's left hand last October. Small things. She'd drop a spoon, fumble with buttons. Her handwriting, always so precise from decades of charting, started looking like a child's scribble. Then came the balance problem. She tripped on the porch steps twice in 1 week. I found her gripping the bathroom counter one morning, knuckles white, saying the room was spinning. She looked at me with those green eyes and said, "Harold, something's wrong with me. I wanted to take her to Dr. Fam, our family doctor for 20 years. But Ryan insisted on a specialist he knew. Dad, Dr. Fam is a general practitioner. Mom needs a neurologist. I know a guy, Dr. Whitfield. Excellent reputation." Ryan had been coming around more since Eleanor's symptoms started. Every Wednesday and Saturday, like clockwork, he'd bring groceries, mow the lawn, sit with Eleanor while I ran errands. He'd reorganize the kitchen, set up a medication system, started cooking Eleanor's meals because her hands shook too badly to use a knife safely. I was grateful. My son was stepping up when his mother needed him most. What father wouldn't be proud? But there were things I noticed and filed away without examining too closely. Ryan's real estate business had gone quiet. The Lexus disappeared, replaced by a leased Honda. He stopped talking about deals, about closings, about the market. One evening, I overheard him on the phone in our garage, voice tight and low. "I told you I need 60 more days. I'm working on it. The money's coming. He hung up when he saw me standing in the doorway. "Just a difficult client," he said, but his eyes said something else entirely. "Dr. Whitfield," the neurologist Ryan recommended, diagnosed Eleanor with early-onset Parkinson's disease after 2 visits. He prescribed medication. Ryan picked up the prescriptions, organized them in a daily pill case, set alarms on Eleanor's phone. He was meticulous. He'd sit at our kitchen table every Sunday night, sorting pills into compartments, double-checking dosages, labeling everything with a felt-tip pen. "Dad, you've got enough to worry about," he'd say. "Let me handle this. Mom's meds are complicated, and I've done the research. Eleanor got worse. Not slowly. Fast. By January. 3 months in. She needed help getting dressed. By February. She couldn't follow a conversation for more than a few minutes. She'd start a sentence and trail off, staring at something none of us could see. The woman who used to recite drug interactions from memory couldn't remember what she'd eaten for breakfast. I started sleeping light, waking at every sound. Terrified, I'd find her wandering the house or fallen somewhere. Ryan suggested we look into assisted living facilities, just as a backup plan. "Dad, her condition is progressing faster than expected. We need to be realistic." He showed me brochures for places costing $8,000 to $12,000 a month. "We could use the house equity," he said casually, flipping through glossy pages of smiling elderly people in manicured gardens. "Sell the house. Use the proceeds, and you could get a smaller apartment. I'd help you find something nice." The suggestion hit me wrong, but I couldn't articulate why. This was our home. 41 years of memories, lived inside these walls. But Ryan had a point about Eleanor's care, didn't he? Megan flew in for a weekend in March. She hadn't seen Eleanor since Thanksgiving. The shock on her face when she walked through the door told me everything. "Dad," she whispered in the kitchen while Eleanor sat motionless in the living room. "This isn't right. Parkinson's doesn't move this fast. I've been reading about it. Something's off." Ryan appeared behind us. "Megan, you're not a doctor. You haven't been here. You don't see what I see every day. Mom's declining. And the best thing you can do is support Dad, instead of creating panic." Megan looked at me, then at Ryan, and said nothing more. She left Sunday afternoon with red eyes and a tight hug. "Call me if anything changes." "Dad, anything." I should have listened harder. I should have heard what she wasn't saying. The physical therapist was Ryan's idea too. "Dad, Dr. Whitfield thinks PT could help with Mom's balance and tremors. I found someone great. Lauren Cahill. She specializes in neurological conditions." The appointment was last Thursday. Ryan drove us. Eleanor sat in the back, hands trembling in her lap, eyes unfocused. She barely responded when I talked to her. At the clinic, Lauren Cahill was younger than I expected. Maybe 40. With sharp eyes and an easy way about her. She asked Eleanor to walk across the room. "Grip her hand. Touch her nose with her index finger." She tested reflexes, balance, coordination. She watched closely, the way Eleanor used to watch patients. I could see her thinking. After 20 minutes, she asked Ryan to move the car to a different lot because of some construction issue. He didn't question it. The moment the door closed, Lauren Cahill changed. She pulled her chair close to mine and spoke low and fast. "Mr. Mitchell, I've treated Parkinson's patients for 15 years. Your wife doesn't have Parkinson's. Her tremors are inconsistent with the disease. The pattern of her symptoms, the rapid cognitive decline, the specific type of motor impairment, these don't match any neurological condition I know." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "But they do match something else. Chronic low-dose lithium toxicity. I've seen 2 cases before. Both were deliberate. The room went very still. What are you saying? Your wife is not sick? Someone is doing this to her. And I think it's your son. My heart was slamming against my ribs so hard I thought she could hear it. That's my son you're talking about. I understand. And I hope I'm wrong. But whoever controls her medication controls her symptoms. You told me your son manages everything she takes. Mr. Mitchell. Lithium in small. Consistent doses causes exactly what I'm seeing. Tremors. Confusion. Memory loss. Balance problems. And here's what matters most. She leaned closer. It's reversible. If I'm right and you stop whatever he's giving her, you'll see improvement within 72 hours. The door handle turned. Ryan walked in, brushing rain from his jacket. Sorry about that. So, what's the verdict? How's Mom doing? Lauren Cahill smiled professionally. We have a good starting point. I'd like to see her twice a week. I'll send my notes to Dr. Whitfield. Ryan nodded, satisfied. I couldn't look at him. The drive home was the longest 40 minutes of my life. Ryan talked about the weather, about a restaurant he wanted to try, about the Bulldogs' chances this season. Normal conversation from a normal son, except nothing was normal anymore. I watched him in the rearview mirror when he carried Eleanor's bag inside, his hand gentle on her arm as he guided her up the porch steps. Was this the same hand that measured poison into her pills? I couldn't reconcile the 2 images. This was the boy who'd sat on my lap during thunderstorms, who'd cried at his grandmother's funeral, who'd called me Pops until he was 18. That night, after Ryan left and Eleanor was sleeping, I called Megan. I told her everything Lauren Cahill had said. The silence on the other end lasted so long I thought the call had dropped. I knew it, she finally said, and her voice was shaking. Dad, I knew something was wrong. I've been telling you for months. You never said you thought Ryan was. I didn't know that part. But I knew Mom's decline didn't make sense. I called Dr. Pham behind Ryan's back 2 months ago. He said he hadn't seen Mom in over a year because Ryan told him he'd found a specialist. Dr. Pham was concerned. He said he'd tried calling, but Ryan intercepted. She was crying now. Dad, I'm booking a flight tonight. I'll be there tomorrow. Don't tell Ryan. I won't. But Dad, we need to be smart about this. If he's really doing this, confronting him will only make him cover his tracks. My daughter was right. So instead of confrontation, we built a case. Megan arrived Friday morning while Ryan was at what he claimed was a client meeting. She came with a notebook, opulent, and the kind of quiet determination Eleanor always said Megan inherited from me. First, we examined Eleanor's medication. I used a magnifying glass from my workshop, the one I'd used for decades, grading student work with tiny notations. The pill case had 7 compartments. I recognized the Parkinson's medication, the blood pressure pill, but there were 2 additional tablets. Small, round, white, unmarked. I photographed everything. Megan bagged samples in Ziploc pouches she'd brought from Portland. I'll get these tested privately, she said. I know a pharmacist in Portland who can run an analysis without asking questions. How long? 48 hours? But Dad, we don't have to wait for the results to test. Lauren's theory, she was right. If Eleanor was being poisoned through her pills, removing them should produce visible improvement. That afternoon, I replaced the 2 unidentified tablets with baby aspirin, similar enough in size and color that Ryan wouldn't notice during his Sunday pill sorting ritual. I kept the originals sealed in an envelope, labeled with the date and time. My hands shook the entire time. I felt like I was performing surgery on my own family. We agreed on roles. I would monitor Eleanor's condition, documenting any changes with timestamps and video. Megan would handle evidence and communication with Lauren Cahill, who had agreed to provide expert testimony if needed. And we both agreed on the most important rule: Ryan could not suspect anything until we had undeniable proof. Saturday morning. 24 hours after I'd swapped the pills, I woke at 6 to find Eleanor already awake, sitting up in bed, looking around the room with an expression I hadn't seen in months. Confusion. Yes, but a different kind. Not the blank fog. More like someone waking from a long, disorienting sleep. "Harold," she said, "why does the bedroom look different? It doesn't—" "Sweetheart, nothing's changed." "No, it has. I can see it more clearly. The curtains. When did we get those curtains? 3 years ago." She frowned. "That can't be right. I don't remember picking them out." My throat tightened. "You didn't. I bought them when you got sick. 48 hours. By Sunday morning, Eleanor Mitchell was a different woman. Not fully recovered. Not the sharp-eyed nurse who could spot a decimal error on a med chart from across the room. But present. Aware. She made coffee without help, for the first time since November. She remembered our neighbor's name. She told me a story about a patient from 12 years ago. Complete with details. I'd forgotten she knew. She looked at her trembling hands and said, "It's getting better. Harold, my hands are getting better. Feel?" He held her hands. The tremor was still there but diminished. Maybe 70% less than 2 days ago. Megan videoed everything. Timestamps. Eleanor answering questions. Eleanor walking without holding the wall. Eleanor reading a magazine and commenting on an article. Megan called Lauren Cahill with an update. Lauren's response was immediate. "This confirms it. Parkinson's doesn't reverse itself in 48 hours. Whatever was in those pills was causing her symptoms. Get a blood test done today before the substance clears her system." We drove Eleanor to an urgent care clinic across town. One Ryan didn't know about. The doctor there, a young woman named Dr. Aguilar, ordered comprehensive blood work, including a toxicology panel. "Results by tomorrow morning," she said. She looked at Eleanor's intake history, looked at us, and added quietly, "If this is what you think it is, you need to involve law enforcement." "We will," Megan said, "as soon as we have the blood work." Ryan called that afternoon. "Hey, Pops. Just checking in. How's Mom doing today?" "About the same." I lied. It was the hardest lie I'd ever told. "I'll be by tomorrow to sort her pills." "Need me to bring anything?" "No." "So?" "We're fine." I hung up and sat in my kitchen. The same kitchen where Ryan had carefully, methodically sorted poison into his mother's pill case every Sunday for 6 months. The same kitchen where he'd kissed Eleanor's forehead and said, "Love you, Mom. Take your medicine." I put my head in my hands and wept. Monday morning. Dr. Aguilar called. "Mr. Mitchell, your wife's blood work shows elevated lithium levels consistent with chronic ingestion over several months. This is not a prescribed medication in her records. Combined with her symptom profile and the rapid improvement you've described, this strongly suggests deliberate lithium administration." She paused. "I've documented everything. You should contact the police." Megan had already called the Savannah Police Department. Detective James Purcell arrived at our house Monday afternoon. A stocky man in his 50s with a measured way of speaking that reminded me of the careful teachers I'd worked with for years. He took statements from me. Eleanor. And Megan. He examined the pills I'd saved. The photographs. Megan's pharmacist report from Portland confirming the white tablets contained lithium carbonate. He reviewed Dr. Aguilar's blood work and Lauren Cahill's written assessment. "Mr. Mitchell," he said, closing his notebook. "This is sufficient for an arrest warrant. Elder abuse. Aggravated assault. Fraude, depending on what the DA decides. Possibly attempted murder. When the warrant will be ready by tomorrow. Do you know his schedule? He comes every Tuesday and Saturday. He'll be here tomorrow afternoon to sort Eleanor's medications. Detective Purcell nodded. We'll be ready. Tuesday came with bright spring sunshine that felt obscene given what was about to happen. Eleanor was in the garden for the first time in months, kneeling beside her roses, hands steady enough to work the pruning shears. Megan sat on the porch with her coffee, pretending to read, her phone ready to record. I sat in my armchair by the window, watching the street. At 2:15, Ryan's Honda pulled into the driveway. He got out carrying a paper bag from the pharmacy. Same as always. Khaki pants, polo shirt, sunglasses pushed up on his head. He looked like any devoted son visiting his parents on a Tuesday afternoon. He didn't notice the unmarked sedan parked 3 houses down. He didn't see the second car on the cross street. He walked up the porch steps, past Megan, giving her a nod. Hey, Meg. Didn't know you were in town. Surprise visit, she said evenly. He let himself in with his key. Bopes. I've got Mom's refills. Where is she? Garden? He glanced out the back window and froze. Eleanor was standing upright. No walker. No grip on the railing. Pruning roses with confident hands. She turned and saw him through the glass. She smiled. Not the vacant, confused smile of the past 6 months. A real smile. Aware. Present. Knowing. Dad. Ryan's voice was careful. Mom looks different today. She does. That's great. The new medication must be working. I'll go adjust her dosage. He moved toward the kitchen counter where the pill case sat. I stepped into his path. You're not touching her medication again. His face cycled through emotions faster than I could catalog them. Surprise. Calculation. Fear. Then the mask went back on. Dad. What are you talking about? I'm just organizing her pills like I always do. The lithium pills. The ones you've been hiding in her daily case. The ones that made your mother shake and forget and disappear for 6 months. The color left his face like someone had pulled a drain plug. The pharmacy bag slipped from his hand. Pill bottles scattered across the hardwood floor, rolling in every direction. He didn't move to pick them up. I don't know what you think you know. But blood tests. Ryan. Toxicology reports. Your mother's lithium levels are documented. A physical therapist identified the poisoning. A pharmacist confirmed what was in those pills. It's over. He backed against the kitchen counter, gripping the edge. Dad, listen to me. You don't understand the pressure I've been under. The business collapsed. I owe $400,000. The investors are threatening lawsuits. I was going to lose everything. So you poisoned your mother. I wasn't trying to hurt her, he said. And tears started falling. Real tears. The kind I hadn't seen from him since he was a boy. I just needed her to seem like she needed full-time care. If we sold the house, liquidated your investments, set up a care facility fund, I could manage the finances. Nobody would get hurt. Mom would be taken care of, and I could restructure my debt. Nobody would get hurt. Eleanor's voice came from the back door. She stood there, gardening gloves still on, dirt on her knees, looking at her son with an expression that broke every piece of my heart. I couldn't dress myself. Ryan, I couldn't remember your sister's name. I thought I was dying. I thought my mind was leaving me and I'd end up in a facility not recognizing anyone I love. Every single day for 6 months, I was terrified. And you stood in this kitchen sorting pills and telling me it would be okay. Ryan crumpled. He slid down the cabinets to the floor, sobbing, knees pulled to his chest like the little boy who used to hide in the pantry during thunderstorms. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't think it would get this bad. I thought small doses wouldn't really affect you that much. I read that lithium was safe at low levels. Safe Megan was in the doorway now. You gave our mother a psychiatric medication without her knowledge for 6 months because you read something online. A firm knock on the front door cut through the chaos. I opened it. Detective Purcell and 2 uniformed officers stood on our porch. Mr. Mitchell, is your son here? He's in the kitchen. They moved through our house with practiced efficiency. The same house, where Ryan had taken his first steps. Where we'd celebrated every Christmas, every birthday, every ordinary Tuesday dinner for 36 years. Ryan Mitchell. Detective Purcell's voice was steady and formal. You're under arrest for aggravated elder abuse, assault by poisoning, and financial fraud. Stand up. Please. You have the right to remain silent. Ryan looked up at me from the kitchen floor with red, swollen eyes. Pops, please, don't let them do this. That word, Pops, the same word he'd used at 7 years old when he fell off his bike and needed me to carry him home. The same word he'd used at 18 when I dropped him off at college. The same word he'd used 6 months ago when he'd walked into this kitchen and started destroying his mother's life one pill at a time. Stand up, Ryan, I said, and go with them. They handcuffed him in our kitchen. Eleanor turned away. She couldn't watch. Megan held her mother, both of them crying quietly, while the officers led Ryan through the living room, past the family photos on the wall, past his senior portrait, past the picture of him holding Megan as a baby. Our neighbor, Mrs. Delacroix, was on her porch. The Hendersons had come outside. I could see faces in windows up and down Abercorn Street. Ryan kept his head down as they put him in the back of the patrol car. He didn't look back. The trial happened in Chatham County Superior Court on a Tuesday in May. Ryan's attorney, a high-priced lawyer from Atlanta named Calloway, argued diminished capacity, financial desperation, a lapse in judgment that never intended permanent harm. Calloway was good. Expensive suit. Smooth delivery. The kind of confidence that makes juries hesitate. But the evidence was a wall he couldn't climb over. Dr. Aguilar testified about the blood work. Lauren Cahill explained the symptom pattern with clinical precision. The pharmacist from Portland confirmed the lithium tablets via video link. Eleanor testified. That was the hardest part. She sat in the witness chair, hands folded in her lap, and described what it felt like to lose her mind. I was a nurse for 30 years, she said. I spent my career helping people hold on to their health. And my own son took mine away. I woke up every morning afraid I was dying. I forgot how to cook meals. I'd made 1,000 times. I looked at my husband and sometimes couldn't remember his name. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't find the words to explain it. Imagine being trapped inside your own body while it falls apart, and the person handing you pills every morning is the one causing it. The courtroom was silent. Calloway didn't cross-examine her. Even he knew better. Ryan addressed the court before sentencing. He stood in his orange jumpsuit, thinner than I'd ever seen him. And for the first time in years, he wasn't performing. I destroyed my family because I was too proud to ask for help and too scared to admit I'd failed. My mother trusted me with her life, and I used that trust to poison her. There's no excuse for what I did. I knew it was wrong from the first day, and I did it anyway. Every Sunday night, sorting those pills. I told myself it was temporary, that I'd stop next month. But next month never came because my debts kept growing and my lies kept multiplying. He turned toward us. Mom, Dad, Megan, I'm sorry. I know those words are empty. I don't deserve your forgiveness, and I'm not asking for it. I'm just asking you to know that I loved you the whole time, even when I was doing the worst thing a son could do. Judge Raymond Carter was not a sentimental man. Mr. Mitchell, in 30 years on this bench, I have seen every form of family cruelty imaginable, but the calculated, sustained nature of your crime places it in a category of its own. You didn't act in a moment of rage or desperation. You researched a poison, administered it systematically over 6 months, and positioned yourself to profit from your mother's manufactured decline. This court sentences you to 12 years in the Georgia state prison system, followed by 5 years of supervised probation, full restitution of all medical, legal, and associated costs to your parents, and a permanent restraining order prohibiting unsupervised contact with Eleanor Mitchell. The gavel came down. Eleanor reached for my hand and held it so tightly I felt the bones pressed together. Megan sat on her other side, arm around her mother's shoulders, tears streaming silently. I watched 2 officers escort my son out of the courtroom. At the door, he paused and looked back at us one last time. I raised my hand. Not a wave, just an acknowledgement. He nodded, and then he was gone. 6 months have passed. Summer gave way to fall, and Savannah's oak trees are draped in gold. Eleanor is not the woman she was before Ryan's pills, and the doctors say she may never fully be. Lithium at those doses, over that period, leaves traces. Some memories are permanently dimmed. Some reflexes never quite returned. But the woman who stands in our kitchen every morning, making coffee and humming Fleetwood Mac songs, is my wife. She's here. She's present. She knows my name, our address, the names of her grandchildren. She went back to volunteering at the free clinic downtown 3 days a week. The other nurses treat her gently, but she doesn't want gentle. She wants normal. Megan transferred to a nonprofit in Savannah. She rents an apartment 12 minutes from our house and comes for dinner every Thursday. We don't talk about Ryan much, but his absence fills the room like furniture that's been rearranged. There's a space where he used to sit at the table that nobody occupies. I've started speaking at the senior center on Drayton Street once a month. Elder abuse awareness. I stand in front of 40, 50 people, and I tell them what happened to us. Not for pity, for prevention. Watch who controls the medications. I tell them, watch who handles the finances. Watch who insists they're the only one who can help. Love is not a reason to stop paying attention. Love is the reason you should pay more attention. After one session, a woman approached me with trembling hands. Her husband had been declining rapidly. Her stepson managed his pills. She hadn't questioned it because he seemed so devoted. I gave her Lauren Cahill's number and Detective Purcell's card. 2 weeks later, she called to tell me they'd found crushed sedatives in her husband's evening medication. Her stepson was arrested the following day. That one moment made every painful step of our journey worth something. We visited Ryan once, on a Sunday in September. He looked older, quieter. The confidence that had defined him was gone, replaced by something I'd never seen in my son before. Stillness. How's Mom was the first thing he asked. She's recovering. Slowly. Tell her I think about her every day. Tell her I remember the oatmeal cookies she used to make after school. I can still smell them. I didn't promise to deliver the message. Some things I need to sit with before deciding. Eleanor asked me afterward if I thought he'd change. I think prison will give him time he never gave himself. I said, whether he uses that time wisely is up to him. She nodded. He's still our son. Harold. He is, but he can't come home. No, he can't. I sit on our porch most evenings now, watching the sun go down through the Spanish moss, listening to Eleanor move through the house behind me. Sometimes she sings. Sometimes she's quiet. Sometimes she comes out and sits beside me, and we don't say anything at all. We just sit there, 2 people who survived something that should have broken us, holding the pieces together with nothing more than stubbornness and 41 years of love. I think about the morning Lauren Cahill locked that door and whispered the truth. I think about what would have happened if she hadn't. If Ryan had continued for another 6 months, another year. The doctors say the damage could have become permanent. Eleanor might have ended up in exactly the kind of facility Ryan wanted. Not because she was sick, but because he'd made her that way, and I would have let it happen, because I trusted my own son more than I trusted my own instincts. Don't make my mistake. If someone you love is declining and someone else is controlling their care, ask questions. Get second opinions. Check the pills. Trust your gut when it tells you something's wrong, even if the person causing harm is someone you die for. God gave us instincts for a reason. They're the alarm bells that ring when love is being weaponized. The hardest thing I've ever done wasn't testifying against my son. It was accepting that the boy I raised chose to hurt the woman who raised him. That's a wound that doesn't close. But Eleanor is alive. She's here. She's pruning her roses and volunteering at the clinic and arguing with me about what to watch after dinner. That's not everything. But after what we almost lost, it's more than enough. If this story hit close to home, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Hit that subscribe button and join our community. And tell me in the comments. Have you ever had to choose between trusting someone you love and protecting someone you love even more? Your story might be the one that saves another family from walking this road. And remember, the most dangerous betrayals don't come from strangers. They come from the people who know exactly where we keep the medicine cabinet.